Alright, YouTube and Fallout communities. So, as the title suggests, this isn't a Fallout, not even really, it's just not a Fallout video. Okay, Final Fantasy VII, as you probably know by now, that this past E3 was revealed to be having a remake. Finally got a trailer, and it looked amazing. Like, the graphics are so good, and I've been excited. I've been excited since this past summer. And then, you know, it's been kind of quiet since then. Didn't know really anything about it. We just had that little bit of a trailer, no gameplay, nothing. And then, like, I think this past weekend or the weekend before that, sometime recently, we finally got a trailer it's got some footage, some like just cinematic footage, and then it's got some gameplay. And it is not what me and a lot of other people were expecting. Okay, the thing is, it's like action oriented. It's a mixture between something like Kingdom Hearts and like the Final Fantasy Dissidia series. It's kind of like, you know, full on action. There's no like turn based like the old school Final Fantasies, and you know, I can handle that to a degree. But the thing is, like, okay, and this is going to be mostly a rant, kind of a discussion, but you know, it's mostly a rant. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time, and it has been for a very, very long time. I remember fondly, like, hey, I've been a Final Fantasy fan since I was very, very young, and I'm talking like 5 years old, maybe, somewhere within that general area, and I'll be 25 this year, so almost about 20 years or so. I remember fondly as a kid. I don't know if you played the older Final Fantasy games, but there's a part of Final Fantasy VIII where you are planning out this like mission with these guys, and you're on top of trains, and you gotta go from train to train, the top of each train to the next one. You gotta disconnect the trains, and you gotta hide from guards that are like walking left and right and things like that. And I have this memory of that. That's my first memory of Final Fantasy, and that has stuck in my head for a long ass time. And you know, I got Final Fantasy VIII a couple years ago, and that came up, and I was like, holy shit, I remember this. I remember this from a kid, and I never knew what game this was from. And so, you know, Final Fantasy's always kind of been there since I started playing video games about 5 years old. I remember having a Nintendo as a kid and playing like Super Mario and things like that. And so I've had the memory in my head for a long ass time, never knew what it was from. But anyways, further down the line from when I had that, you know, that first encounter with Final Fantasy, I grew up a little bit, you know, maybe like anywhere from 7 to 10, and I went over to my brother's friend's house, and he had like, you know, the PlayStation on. So I didn't have a PlayStation yet. I'm still on like a Nintendo and like Game Boy, and he let me start a game on Final Fantasy VII, and I probably only played for, you know, a couple hours that day, but I fell in love with it. It from that point on, it was always my favorite game, and it has been, and it still is to this day. I own an actual copy. You know, I would like to have like a PS3, PS4, whatever, and have like an HD, you know, PlayStation Network version, but whatever. I like having the physical copy with the actual disc, booklet, all that shit. Anyways, so it's been my favorite game for a long ass time, and I remember like years ago, I think like 2008 or something, somewhere around that general area, we had that little bit of a trailer for it was the beginning of the Final Fantasy, like the opening. It was like to show, I think it was to show off the PS3 graphics is what it was. And, you know, ever since then, it's like everybody's wanting a Final Fantasy VII remake, and it's probably even before then. But that, you know, that was like what everybody thought was like, wait, is this happening? Because why did they make this? And it was just to show off the graphics, pretty much, in the engine and everything for the PS3. And I've been wanting, you know, a remake for a long ass time, and there's nothing wrong with the original Final Fantasy VII. I can play it now and enjoy the hell out of it, regardless of graphics. I'm an old school video game player. Like I said, I grew up, you know, not when the Nintendo was new, but, you know, I grew up playing Nintendo and playing N64 and PlayStation. Graphics mean nothing to me. I can play any game. I don't care about the graphics. It's all about the content of the game. And Final Fantasy VII was really, really good. It was, you had secret characters. You had at least 2 secret characters. Really, really awesome. You had, you know, amazing like options. Like anybody could wear any materia. Other than weapons, anybody could wear just about anything. And so it's such a good game. And part of the problem with the newer Final Fantasy games, like you move onward up to like Final Fantasy 13. I don't know if you played the first Final Fantasy 13, which is the only one I've played, because I hated it so much that I didn't want to touch, you know, the second installment and the third installment of Final Fantasy 13. I did not care to, because I hated that fucking game. But it's so linear. It's literally like, I think you can you can give them their weapon, which you can level up their weapons and their like their accessories and things like that. And yes, you can get other slots for multiple accessories, but that's it. Like, what happened to the days of Final Fantasy when you could equip like a weapon and like a shield and like a helmet and a chest piece and leggings and things for your hands, you know? And that's kind of what's like I haven't played, like I said, past the first 13, but like the newer Final Fantasy games are so linear. And what happened to like turn-based? It doesn't even have to be turn-based. But what happened to old school RPGs? You know, what happened to like I prefer the turn-based myself, but what happened to like actually having to grind out levels and things like the first 13? Okay, you get into this like epic boss fight or this epic fight, and like almost all your guys die, and like you barely survive, and you just kill the guy with 1 HP left, and like you have the fight, and like on 13, getting out of the fight fully heals your characters. What the shit is that? That's like handing you like. That's easy mode. I don't get that. I don't understand. I don't like the newer Final Fantasy games. The last Final Fantasy game that I liked
Terminal's gotta be
was
somewhere.
Final Fantasy XII, which was the like you could have it real time or turn based. You could have it real time or turn based. Like whenever you hit the action button, it would pull up a menu and it would pause time if you wanted it to, and you could choose your actions with each of your characters, and then it would you do your actions or whatever. That was the last one I kind of enjoyed, but the last real good one was 10, which was actually fully turn-based. But what's happening with the newer ones is they're all like action-oriented, which I hated at first when I seen that newer gameplay trailer, because I was like, this isn't Final Fantasy, man. And this is my favorite game of all time. This, regardless of whether it is your favorite game for Final Fantasy or favorite Square Enix game, whatever you want to say, it is the most popular Final Fantasy, and it is probably their most popular game. And regardless of your view of the game itself, this is their most popular, so for them to drastically change it it pisses me off. It scares me a little, because the thing is, if I hate this game, I'm going to hate Square Enix. And maybe that's petty of me, but that's, you know, this is, like I said, this is a rant, and this is my favorite game of all time. I've invested 20 years of my life in being like a fan of theirs. So for them to fuck up the game that I cherish the most, it scares me, and I don't know, man. And then we got a little bit of news later on after that gameplay trailer we got at whatever that PlayStation event was. We get this like little bit of news that the game is possibly episodic, along the lines of something like The Walking Dead or, you know, other Telltale games, and that pissed me off a lot more. And to the point that I don't even care about the combat system anymore. I'm like, this is bullshit. I don't want a game in pieces. And then we get a little bit of other news here recently that maybe it's not exactly episodic, but the game is going to be in multiple installments. And I don't know what that means. Does that mean like 13, 13.2, 13.3, something along those lines? And if so, what the fuck? We've waited this many years for the remake, and they're going to give it to us in pieces, unless they mean like fast. Like, am I going to have to get, if I want to get to like the first part of this game and wait like you know, a year or two for the next part? Like, what the fuck? I don't want that. I want the full game. Why can't you give me the full game? And I don't know if they mean multiple installments as in multiple discs, like the old school Final Fantasies were, or I don't know what they mean by this. And it's pissing me off. I don't want them to fuck up this game. Man, it sucks, man, because I've wanted this for a very, very long time. And I was, like, you know, Fallout 4 was one of the most exciting things for me when it comes to something like E3 when they revealed it. Or they had their own day, rather, for Bethesda. And and then I missed, you know, I haven't kept up with E3 in a long time, and I remember hearing a tweet, or seeing a tweet about the Final Fantasy VII's getting remade, and I shit myself, and I was like so excited, not literally, but I didn't literally shit on myself, guys. But you know what I mean. And so I don't know, man. Like, this is very worrisome for me. And I made a video on my channel if you want to go back and it's a little ways back, about a year or so, talking about the remake and everything. This is like right after the reveal. Actually, it wasn't a year ago. It had been the summer. But I don't know, guys. Like, I know this isn't a Fallout video, but I provided you with like 10 minutes of Fallout gameplay almost. And I don't know if you guys like Final Fantasy or not, but like if Final Fantasy VII gets fucked up, it's gonna ruin me. I don't know how I'm gonna take it. And another thing is too, from the looks of things right now, it's only PS4 like exclusive. They haven't announced PC or Xbox One. And if that's the case, that's fucking stupid on their part, because that is only hurting themselves. They're gonna make less money like that, and I'm gonna be so fucking mad if the remake of my favorite game of all time fucking sucks. It comes out in parts, and it's not even on a platform that I can play it on. I don't know, guys. Like, everything about this is wrong, and I'm not liking it, and it pisses me off. You know, that was going to be where I ended the video, and then, you know, some more things crossed my mind as I was finishing up. Like, what happened to the days of Final Fantasy games that had like open worlds, and this hasn't been done since about 9. 12 kinda did it, but not really. Like, okay, like 7, 8, and 9, like once you kind of get out of, you know, the beginning of the game, the first couple hours, you pretty much get the ability, you have this entire world, you can explore a portion of it until you get like other vehicles and other, you know, means of travel. You eventually get like a boat or an airship, whatever, you know. Like, what happened to those days, man? Like, that was the fun of those old school, like PS1, and I guess even the first Final Fantasy, it has a world for you to explore. I haven't played a whole lot of it, but you do have an entire world to explore. Like, what happened to the day? Those were the fun days, man. That's when like RPGs were killing it. And if you look at the game, look at the world now. Like, okay, you got RPGs, things like Fallout. You know, I'm not bashing Fallout by any fucking means, but like I'm talking legit, straight up RPGs where you there's a load screen. You go into a battle and you fight enemies, and then you come out of the battle and like you have items and shit you can heal. Like those like old school RPGs. What happened to those days, man? Like I miss that. I miss sitting down in front of my TV for hours on end and just playing like all throughout the night as a kid. Just like some awesome RPG, whether it be Final Fantasy, Legend of Dragoon, you know, whatever those old school good ones are. And like, what happened to those days, man? Like, that's what I want, and that's what I'm fearing. Like, because that was, you know, that's one of the beauties of Final Fantasy VII. Again, hidden content. They had an entire world for you to explore. If they're going into the direction of what these other Final Fantasies are, there may not be, you know, an entire world to explore. It may be this like linear thing where you just, I'm gonna fast travel to this location or this location, and you can't explore the world. You can't find these hidden contents. You can't find these hidden caves, these hidden chests, hidden items, and that's another thing that's worrying me about this game, guys.